And hello again, and welcome back to the Chariot series, myself, Critical Rocket. Here we are with the Novacat E. This is a later tech version that was developed, presumably by the remnants of Novacat, with the intent of taking advantage of those new shiny ATM missile systems. Basically, it works along the similar idea of the B variant, which is what you can build this on, which is basically a quartet of ATM-9s backed up by a single large pulse laser in the side torso. It is effective, potentially high damage, but very, very, very fragile. It's a fire support unit through and through, but it lacks a lot of the maneuverability that fire support units could do with jump jets being a good start. The Novacat B does have a tendency to kind of fall apart at a moment's notice, mainly because I think it carries less armor than the other standard Novacats because it carries so many missile weapons. It's got a fairly decent heat spike to it, so you can't fire the ATMs too regularly, and I would always recommend firing them in chain. Firing them as a group is insanity and will very quickly burn you to the ground. The large pulse laser, I feel, is an unusual addition for a mech that would almost rely entirely on some kind of smaller weapon to deal with infantry that might decide to get up too close to it, as the large pulse or the ATMs wouldn't actually be able to hit the infantry. But I guess the intent of this model was that it was never meant to get into close range combat in the first place. Hell, even the large pulse laser gives it a fairly decent range anyway, and it's its only backup weapon. The upside is at least it's torso mounted, so at least if your arms do get blown off, you still got something to fight back with, and it's got an okay punch to it. I'm not gonna lie, I had a really tough time getting a decent video of this. Win or lose, you know my pattern by now. It's not always victories. This was the match I was happy with. I did have one originally that was okay, did about 500 odd damage, but it was still stomp fest. Like, it just didn't feel like a good fight. This at least had more going on in the match, at least, which I was happier with than what I got with the other one, and I got more damage. I can't really complain. It's pretty typical of ATM builds with the clans at this point. It's if you're used to playing things like the Vapor Eagle with the ATM missiles setup or something like that, this will feel very similar. I wouldn't be surprised if a number of players haven't already kind of incidentally built this variant without realizing that it's an official one, outside of probably the large pulse laser. ATMs work extremely well on a heavy mech like this at 70 ton, gives it a lot of flexibility and the capability of doing damage at, obviously, the short range for the ATMs. Can very, very quickly strip assault mechs of most of their armor if they're not careful. The cycle time on the 9s isn't too bad either, which means you can get a semi-decent, let's say, rhythm going with this. And yeah, it's decent, it's high power, and in the right circumstances, pretty much like any mech, it is quite deadly. What I would say, though, is that it is very situational. If your team end up in the scenario where they're getting rolled, there's not much you'll be able to do to support them. You won't be able to really turn the tide because your weapons, yeah, they generally rely on a very slight curve for the missile to go over or a very direct line of sight, and if you've got direct line of sight, they've got line of sight on you, and you will become a priority target. You definitely need this to be a case where you have a team that's duking it out with them and you can support fire. And that's really good to say. I don't dislike it. It's not my favourite, though. I actually do prefer the B variant with its 6 LRM-15s, to be honest. But this is fun. Did a lot of damage. Can't really knock it for that. I don't mind it. It's okay. Novacat E. Obviously, check out Novacats if you haven't. It's a fun 70-tonner. And that's it for this week. I'm going to try and get something for the Warhammer done next time. And yeah, then we're on to 75 tonners. Holy shit, nearly done with the heavies. Wow. Going over the credits, but who cares? You know, it's just one of those things. I'm sure some people listen to the end. So yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, have a good one, everyone. Thanks for listening this long. Oh god, sorry about that. Sorry, that's a bonus burp there at the end. Sorry, that's Haribo for you. Bye.